Welcome to Unto Its Innermost Parts. I'm Nirja Parekh, and I'm here in the studio with Pat Garofalo, and we're on DEIS, Brandeis Public Radio.
Support for Brandeis Public Radio is brought to you by Kill 'em Cook 'em, serving Southwest Mississippi with non-vegetarian cuisine for over 50 years. Kill 'em Cook 'em. You kill 'em, we'll cook 'em.
During the show, we're going to talk a lot about what we called Fest Month here at Brandeis because of all the festivals that have been happening over the last bunch of weeks. We've got Spring Fest, you've got Earth Fest, Festival of the Arts was last weekend, and then we have some other stories as well.
We're going to be focusing on some interviews. One is with presidential candidate Mike Gravel, and then we also have a student union roundtable interview to bring to you as well.
And then we have a story on Open House, which we have, of course, dubbed High School Kid Fest. But before we go to that, we're going to talk about Springfest. It was cold and rainy, but no one let the weather put a damper on yesterday's Springfest celebration. Springfest, Brandeis' annual live music festival, was without a doubt a huge success. From the Great Lawn, Kara Carter has the story.
Anyone who walked by the Shapiro Campus Center between 1 and 6 p.m. yesterday could tell that it was not an ordinary day at Brandeis University. The sound of loud, thumping music filled the air as students flocked to the Great Lawn in large numbers. The reason? Springfest 2008. This year's lineup provided something for everyone, from the ska stylings of the Pie Tasters and the indie rock of Minus the Bear, to the hip-hop of Philadelphia's Jedi Mind Tricks. The bill was headlined by local favorites State Radio, who made their second Springfest appearance in the last 3 years. Unlike past student event-sponsored concerts, Springfest took no toll on students' wallets. In addition to the free admission, students were treated to complimentary hamburgers, hot dogs, and cotton candy. For those 21 and older, a beer garden also contributed to a day of fun, fist-pumping, and dancing. In front of Shapiro Campus Center, I'm Kara Carter.
If you don't know your country, don't you ever let us down. See, I know you never let us down.
This year's impressive Springfest lineup was headlined by Boston's own State Radio. Alex Kronberger sat down with State Radio's vocalist and guitarist Chad Ermston before they took the stage last Sunday.
State Radio has been very busy since their last appearance at Brandeis at Springfest 2006, but they were still thrilled to be back.
You guys were here 2 years ago for Springfest as well?
Yeah.
But you're headlining this year, so you excited?
Yeah, we're psyched. We're glad to be here.
State Radio's latest full-length studio effort, Year of the Crow, was released September of last year. The album was recorded in the UK in less than 1 month.
We recorded it in England, in countryside with Chad Blake, producer extraordinaire. And that was great. We had like 3 weeks to record the whole thing.
I mean, did it feel really rushed the whole time?
In the beginning, like the first week, it didn't feel that rushed, but definitely like in the last week, I was like, it was intense, but I didn't feel like the time crunch, really. I was like, oh, we have like so many days ahead of us.
What was the reason for such a short timeline?
We couldn't really afford any more time, and it was in between tours.
State Radio will be back in the Boston area this coming August. For Brandeis Public Radio, I'm Alex Kronberger. We now go to Nirja Parekh with a report on the very unspring-like weather of this year's Springfest.
It certainly rained on Brandeis' Springfest parade this year. The dismal weather was on the minds of many students at the concert. Senior David Miyashiro commented on his disappointment.
Disappointed with the weather. Last year was a lot more fun. People were just hanging out. It was warm and sunny. I don't know, I'm pretty much done with New England at this point.
There was a debate on whether to hold the concert indoors. This left some students like junior Nicole Special feeling a bit unsettled.
I feel like Springfest is an outdoor thing, but when it's not sunny, it just makes it bad.
The April showers dampened some spirits at Springfest, but students can always hope for a bit more sun next year.
Support for Unto Its Innermost Parts is provided by...
Aw, are you thirsty? If you're a cat owner, you should know subtle behavioral changes can sometimes be early signs of illness.
Wow, you really need a brushing.
Signs like increased thirst or decreased grooming can be easy to miss. That's why every cat should receive a wellness exam twice a year to help prevent health problems before they become serious. A message from the American Veterinary Medical Association and your local veterinarians.
In just a few weeks, the class of 2008 will be departing Brandeis. With graduation approaching, seniors have been wondering who their commencement speaker would be. Much to the chagrin of many, Jon Stewart has once again been passed over. Instead, delivering last-minute advice to the soon-to-be grads will be CNN analyst Bill Schneider. Schneider graduated with the Brandeis class of 1966. This choice failed to impress some current students, like Joe Farbian.
It just seems kind of bogus that a school like Brandeis, as big as Brandeis, would get a random political commentator from CNN just because he's a Brandeis alum. This is what we did last year in getting Thomas Friedman, another kind of annoying media commentator and Brandeis alum.
Others, like Matt Rogers, think Schneider is a speaker who can comment on timely issues.
You need to get people who are going to be relevant, and I think that for a community that is as engaged as Brandeis' community is, journalists will be more often appropriate for this community than maybe in others.
As Claire Moses reported in The Justice, Schneider will also receive an honorary doctorate of humane letters at the May 18th commencement. Then, he will have the chance to prove his skeptics wrong or disappoint those who are looking forward to hearing his words. From Brandeis, I'm Pat Garofalo.
Presidential candidate Mike Gravel made a late evening speech in the Lown Auditorium last Sunday. Alex Kronberger reports.
The only hope we have is from the people, not from the leadership of this country, whether it's in finance, whether it's in politics, you name it. The hope is yourselves. And so I want to thank you for hanging in here tonight. I've enjoyed it.
Despite several hours of flight delays, former Alaska Senator Mike Gravel was passionate as always when he spoke to an enthusiastic group of Brandeis students for almost 2 hours last Sunday. Senator Gravel spent the time outlining his views and plans for the White House should he be elected. Among the issues discussed were college education expenses, an issue very close to home for many Brandeis students.
My goal in education is Finland. And not only Finland, you got Finland, Sweden, Norway, Spain. They pay for education from childhood all the way up to PhD. Pay for it all. I think it absolutely is terrible that you have to go into debt to pay for your education.
Despite his lack of success in the Democratic primary, Senator Gravel is pressing on in the 2008 presidential campaign and is now seeking the nomination of the Libertarian Party. For Unto Its Innermost Parts, I'm Alex Kronberger.